American Airlines Flight 331, the Christmas miracle that almost wasn't. A routine journey turns into a nightmare on the night of December 22, 2009. American Airlines Flight 331, a Boeing 737-800, embarked on a journey from Miami International Airport, MIH, to Norman Manley International Airport, KIN, in Kingston, Jamaica. The flight carried 148 passengers and 6 crew members, most of whom were excited to return home or visit loved ones just days before Christmas. For many, this was meant to be the start of joyful holiday celebrations. Instead, it turned into a night of terror and survival. The aircraft, registered N977AN, had been in service since 2001, and was a modern, well-maintained plane. The flight itself was part of American Airlines' busy schedule between the US and the Caribbean. Passengers, including families, tourists, and Jamaicans returning home, had no reason to suspect anything out of the ordinary. However, as the aircraft neared Jamaica, ominous weather conditions awaited them. A dangerous combination of heavy rain, strong winds, and a wet runway that would put both the aircraft and the crew to the ultimate test. The final approach, a battle against the elements. As Flight 331 neared Kingston, air traffic controllers at Norman Manley International Airport informed the pilots of severe weather conditions. Torrential rain and strong gusty winds from the east made visibility extremely poor. The ILS, Instrument Landing System approach to runway 12, was the designated path, but it was far from an ideal landing scenario. Despite the poor weather, the pilots proceeded with their approach, believing they could land safely. However, the conditions were not in their favor. The wind direction posed a major issue. Instead of landing into the wind for better deceleration, the aircraft faced a tailwind, which made stopping on the wet runway more difficult. Runway 12 at Kingston's airport was only 8,900 feet, 2,713 meters long, adequate for a normal landing but dangerous in slippery conditions with a late touchdown. The rain had soaked the runway, reducing the effectiveness of braking. At 10:22 p.m. local time, Flight 331 made its final descent. The aircraft approached high and fast, but the pilots, rather than opting for a go-round, chose to continue. The moment of impact, a violent overrun. When Flight 331 touched down, it did so far down the runway, significantly reducing the available stopping distance. Realizing their mistake, the crew immediately deployed thrust reversers and applied maximum braking power. But the aircraft was already traveling too fast on the rain-slicked surface. The brakes struggled to gain traction, and the plane skidded uncontrollably toward the end of the runway. With terrifying speed, the Boeing 737-800 burst through the airport's perimeter fence and careened onto the rocky coastline, just yards away from the Caribbean Sea. The impact was devastating. The fuselage split in multiple places, though it remained mostly intact. The landing gear collapsed, causing the aircraft's nose to slam into the ground. The left engine detached from the wing. The cabin lights flickered, then went dark. Inside, passengers screamed in terror, many suffering from whiplash, head injuries, and broken bones. Overhead compartments burst open, raining luggage onto passengers. The smell of fuel filled the cabin, sparking fears of an impending explosion. The desperate evacuation, panic in the dark. As the aircraft came to a halt, the cabin was filled with a tense silence, broken only by cries of pain and confusion. Silence. Despite the shocking crash, there was no fire, giving passengers and crew a critical window for escape. The flight attendants, trained for such emergencies, rushed into action. Using emergency lighting and their own voices, they shouted evacuation commands. Unfasten your seatbelts, leave everything behind, move to the nearest exits. Passengers scrambled toward the exits, some pushing in panic, others helping the injured. Those near the front of the aircraft used the forward left door while others exited through the overwing exits. In the chaos, some passengers were trapped between broken seats and debris. A few people ignored instructions and tried to retrieve their luggage, slowing the escape. Several passengers were injured by the jagged wreckage while trying to crawl out. Outside, emergency responders rushed to the scene, braving the rain and difficult terrain. Despite the horrific crash, all 154 people on board survived, though 92 suffered injuries, ranging from minor cuts to severe fractures. The investigation: what went wrong? Following the accident, the Jamaican Civil Aviation Authority, JCAA, and the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, launched an extensive investigation. Their findings revealed several key factors that contributed to the crash. Tailwind landing was risky. The pilots landed with a tailwind of approximately 14 knots, which significantly increased their landing distance. A headwind landing would have provided more stopping power. Late touchdown left insufficient stopping distance. The aircraft touched down too far down the runway, reducing the effective braking distance. Had they landed earlier, they might have stopped safely. Poor weather and wet runway reduced braking effectiveness. Heavy rain made the runway extremely slippery, causing the plane to skid rather than decelerate effectively. The decision to land instead of go around was fatal, given the conditions. The best decision would have been to abort the landing and attempt another approach or divert to another airport. Aftermath and safety changes. Although Flight 331 was a total loss, the fact that everyone survived was nothing short of a miracle. However, the incident led to several safety improvements. American Airlines revised its landing procedures, emphasizing stricter decision-making in adverse weather. Pilots received additional training on recognizing unsafe landing conditions and opting for a go-around when necessary. Kingston's airport improved runway safety measures, including better drainage and increased runway friction to prevent similar overruns. A remarkable survival, how 154 lives were saved despite the violent impact and destruction of the aircraft. All 154 people on board, 148 passengers and 6 crew members, miraculously survived. This outcome was the result of several critical factors working in their favor, turning what could have been a catastrophic loss of life into an incredible survival story. Quick and decisive action by the crew. The flight attendants and pilots played a vital role in ensuring that passengers evacuated as efficiently as possible. Within moments of the crash, the crew initiated emergency protocols, assessing the damage and identifying usable exits. Flight attendants remained calm and authoritative, shouting evacuation commands to guide panicked passengers toward exits. Despite the darkness, chaos and injuries, the cabin crew's rigorous training in emergency evacuations helped ensure that passengers exited the aircraft quickly and safely. Their professionalism and leadership prevented further injuries and possible fatalities, especially given the risk of fuel leaks leading to a post-crash fire. Structural integrity of the Boeing 737-800. Modern commercial aircraft are designed to withstand extreme forces, and Flight 331's fuselage largely held together upon impact. Key structural elements contributed to survival. The main cabin remained mostly intact, preventing a mass casualty event. Although the fuselage fractured in multiple places, it did not completely disintegrate, allowing passengers to escape without becoming trapped under debris. The seats absorbed much of the impact, reducing the severity of injuries for many on board. This highlights the advancements in aviation engineering, which prioritize passenger safety even in extreme crash scenarios. The absence of a post-crash fire. One of the most common and deadly hazards following a plane crash is fire. In many aviation accidents, spilled fuel ignites, turning survivable crashes into fatal infernos. Fortunately, in the case of Flight 331, no fire broke out. This was due to several factors. The engines were severely damaged and detached, reducing the likelihood of hot engine parts igniting fuel. The rain-soaked environment may have helped dissipate potential ignition sources. Immediate evacuation efforts prevented any delays that could have led to a fire disaster. Had there been a fire, the outcome could have been drastically different, leading to fatalities or severe burns among survivors. Emergency response and medical aid. Rescue workers and airport personnel responded swiftly, despite the heavy rain and difficult terrain. Local emergency teams arrived quickly, helping evacuate injured passengers and providing immediate medical aid. Hospitals in Kingston were prepared for mass casualties, ensuring that those with serious injuries received prompt treatment. Many passengers helped one another, demonstrating human resilience and unity in moments of crisis. A lesson in aviation safety. The crash of American Airlines Flight 331 reinforced the importance of proper training, emergency preparedness, and stricter landing protocols in adverse weather conditions. Pilots worldwide were reminded of the importance of making go-round decisions rather than attempting risky landings. Airports implemented better runway safety measures, including improved drainage and braking conditions. Aircraft manufacturers continued refining crash-resistant designs to further improve survivability. A Christmas miracle amid disaster. While the crash was a terrifying ordeal, the fact that every single person on board survived is nothing short of a miracle. the courage of the crew, the strength of the aircraft, and the luck of avoiding fire all combined to turn what could have been a tragic Christmas into a story of survival and resilience.